Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, back with my better half, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good, but I'm also tired, as we were just talking about. It is late.
And I know it is late. Every time we schedule these things for 8:30, I get a dozen DMs from people like, "This is past my bedtime." I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, how's this? It's 8:30 p.m. How's it past everyone's bedtime? But I'm also really tired, so I kind of understand at this point.
Yeah, I do too. It's entirely my fault. I try to pick a time that I'm like pretty much guaranteed that my kids are going to be asleep, and like it's taking longer and longer. The bedtime process is taking
Mm.
longer and longer to like get them in their beds and staying in their beds. So this is like it's my fault for all of you who are complaining because you're tired and going to bed, but it's also like just the best shot I have at not having to run out of here because there's a kid awake and Matt needs help. Though that's always a possibility.
8:30 doesn't feel that late to me, but I guess it is. Hey, James, what's going on? People coming in the chat.
Hello. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's too late or not. It feels late these days. I had moments early in the year where I was like staying up really late. Now it's like as soon as the sun goes down, I start to get tired. And we're reaching that moment in Ohio where you won't see the sun again until like April. So
Yeah.
kind of sucks in that regard.
I know. I get it. I can tell because the chickens have their egg production has slowed. That's how I know it's really turning into fall winter.
Well,
I'm with you though. Like it gets dark and I get tired, but then I stay up way too friggin' late every night anyway. You know that period of time, and I know you had this when your kids were younger, where like you work all day or you're dedicated to your kids and all of your free time. It takes ages to put them to bed because kids be kids. And then you have this like sweet spot of like 8:30 to 10:30 finally to just like be by yourself or maybe be with your partner or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you should just go to bed at 8:30 or 9 because I'm tired. But it's the only time I have to myself. And so I stretch it and I doom scroll and I read my smutty books. And then I'm like, all of a sudden I turn around and it's 11 p.m. and I'm like, no, what have I done? Because my baby is not sleeping. Like he does not, just NOT, not sleeping unless he's physically touching me. That's
all I'm saying is Benadryl works great. That's all I'm saying. You know,
I can't because this kid is up. Oh, this kid is up. He was sleeping these like decent chunks, and then I think he hit 4-month sleep regression straight into teething, and now he is up every 60 to 90 minutes unless he's in the bed, like physically in the bed with me.
I feel like I need to give a disclaimer to everyone: don't drug your kids. I was just joking.
Right, but no,
so
yes,
people are going to take that seriously. Next thing I know, I'm going to get roasted online for saying you should be drugging your kids.
I thought you meant me. I'm like, yeah, Benadryl would work great for me if I didn't have to get my ass up every 90 minutes.
Yeah, drug yourself all you want. I don't care about that. You drug yourself.
It's just rough. We're in a phase. It's rough. It's rough right now.
Well, I was just talking to my daughter a few minutes ago, and I told her, I'm like, I think I'm going to have to vote for Trump, and let me tell you why. I downloaded iOS 18 today, and with it comes the new CarPlay, and so they updated it and has some cool new features. But they took away my wallpaper that matches the interior of my car, and I can't live in Biden's America like this, Nikki. Like, it's just, like if I don't have the matching CarPlay for my Range Rover, like who can live like this? It's ridiculous.
It's about to be not Biden's America no matter what happens. So really, the world is your oyster, sir.
I was relaying that story to Mira, and she's like, I know Biden's America sucks, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah, totally. Such a tough life, like the ultimate first world problems when you're worried about your CarPlay,
For sure. I love that for you though. And you should have it the way that you want it. You should.
I know. iOS 18 is cool as hell though. It's very cool.
I know. Oh my God, everything in my life is just like saddened by parenting at the moment. But like every morning my phone's like, we tried to update last night, but we couldn't because your baby monitor was up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that.
I don't have any of those problems. I'm just sleeping like a baby myself over here, nice and quiet, and it's great. It's great. I'm telling you, this is why I recommend divorce to all my friends. It's awesome.
Matt is not the problem, to be honest, for once.
This week has been rough on sleep because when I got my face chopped up, I've had to sleep on my back, and I don't like that. Like I like sleeping on my side.
Mm-hmm.
and it's on the side I like to sleep on, so I can't put
Oh,
my face on the pillow that direction. So I'm like
I have
feel like I'm
so
tossing
many
and turning.
questions.
Oh, okay.
Let's
All
talk
right.
all about your face. First of all, you look badass. Leave it to you,
uh,
John, to like come out here with this face scar looking handsome and badass as hell. Come
let's
on, man.
give the guy credit. I messaged the surgeon today. He's a friend. I've known him for years, and he's a CrossFitter. And I messaged him like, dude, if you were as good a CrossFitter as you are at giving stitches, you'd be on the podium. Like you'd be a games athlete. And he's such a nice dude. He's like, "Oh, I'm just glad it looks good." I'm like, "No, you're the Annie Thorsdottir of surgeons." And
That's a
he,
huge
yeah,
compliment.
and he's like, "I'll totally take that. That's great." You know.
So, give the background in case someone didn't hear the last episode on exactly what you went in for surgery for.
Well, so I had this spot on my cheek for months. It just would not. It was like this little dry patch, just totally
Mm.
dumb. Would not heal, and I thought it was just like I don't. I mean, I don't know what I thought it was. I thought maybe I'd nicked myself shaving or something, or
Yeah.
just you get dry patches from time to time. But it would not heal, and it didn't matter like lotion, whatever, just and it would change like occasionally change colors, and I'm like started to get concerned about it over time.
Yeah.
After about 4 months, I'm like, all right, enough's enough. I need to go get it looked at. And so I text my friend, this doctor who I'd been CrossFitting with at CrossFit Distinction for years. I've known the guy for close to a decade now. And I'm just going to say this out loud on the off chance he hears this. He is literally the smartest dumb person I've ever met. Like
What does that mean?
he is brilliant. He's a brilliant surgeon, world class. Like he's world renowned. Like he's known all over in his field. And but he just does dumb shit at CrossFit like the rest of us. So
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
that's one of the amazing things about CrossFit to me is that you can just be around people just doing stupid shit and just think, oh, that guy's an idiot, and turns out they're just absolutely freaking
Brilliant.
brilliant.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm not that brilliant guy, but he is. Anyway, so I messaged him and he's like, yeah, I'll get you into a guy. So he got me into someone in his office, and they biopsied it, and it turned out to be squamous cell. I think that's how it's pronounced, squamous cell carcinoma. And so they had to cut it out. And basically what they do is they shave it down and look at the skin under a microscope to see if it's still there. And they shave it until they get it all, is kind of the point. And so you have to do sometimes you do one round, sometimes you do multiple rounds. I had to do 2 rounds. And so basically the gist of it is you come in, they give you way more shots than you want. You really only kind of feel the first one, but the rest you can feel pressure. And, then he comes in and he cuts it out. And that's the weird part is like the cutting when you can't feel it. You know what it's like when you're cutting a steak and you can feel what it's like to cut through the steak, but you obviously can't feel it because you're not the steak. Well, it's the same sensation. You can feel him cutting in your face, but you don't feel it at all. And it's like it's like heavy pressure,
Yeah.
And so they have to do that a couple of times. And then they got it all, which is great. They came back all clear after the second go round. And then they have to suture it up. And that's the same kind of sensation that's weird. So what they end up doing, because it's a circle, and you can see from the scar how it's long, it was in the middle. And so they intentionally cut it long. So you get a straight line. So they can fold the skin over, and you have less of a scar that way long term. It'll fade out over time. And to his credit, man, he put it like right in my smile line, so it'll probably fade away completely. But yeah, it's interesting. The only part that was really weird for me was when he was suturing it or putting stitches in. And at some point I see like smoke come like across my face, and I can smell something burning. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm cauterizing the skin. I'm like, what the hell? Like nobody told me you were going to do this. And so that part was a little odd. But that was really it.
Thing makes my butt tingle. It's like,
yeah, it's like, I don't know, 3.5, 4 hours end to end. Like it's not super time consuming. There's not a lot of pain. It's kind of itchy afterwards, and you're a little sore. They're like, we're not going to give you any meds. Just go take Advil. And if you need to double down, do Advil and then do Tylenol, a couple hours later. And I didn't even need that. Like I took Advil as soon as I came home. And then after that, I don't think I took anymore. Like,
nice.
It had like pressure there where I, it felt like a bruise, but it wasn't, I I don't know. I mean, we're CrossFitters, right? Like I've had way worse pain than that. So
You've had
it's
way
like,
worse hand tears than this face tear.
I'm like, I've slammed my knees into boxes a dozen times. Like this is nothing compared to that. So
For sure.
yeah, so I was like, it's fine. And yeah, I mean, it's, I got to keep putting Vaseline on it every day, which is kind of gross. And,
Mm.
you just got to keep it clean, but otherwise it's not a big deal.
And it'll fade.
So they say, we'll see. I don't know. I kind of like it. Maybe I'll get it
I kind of
tattooed
like it
in
too. I know.
afterwards.
I think it's badass.
Yeah, we'll see. So, the good news is it's got a 99% success rate. So that's a plus. And, I guess if there's a downside, you have basically a 50% chance of it returning within 3 years, but I don't leave the house anyway. So, I got no life, so I'll be fine. I'll just start wearing sunscreen for a change and get regular screenings and move on with my life.
It's probably the way to go. Sunscreen every day is the way to go for sure.
Yeah,
Do
well,
you have to get
that's a lesson learned for sure because I don't wear
mm,
sunscreen enough. Like I'm obviously pretty white, and I don't like to be as white in the summertime, so I've wear lighter sunscreen than I probably should. And so
yeah.
guess that goes away now.
Do you have to have this specific spot rechecked every so often, or how does that work?
Well, that I don't know. I'm going back for a full cancer screening in November, and after that, I'll just get regular checkups and see.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I can do it myself. Like, basically just looking for spots. It's not a big deal. I mean, all jokes aside, I'm glad I caught it. Like he said to me, he's like, these things, squamous cell can spread, and it spreads to other things, and it can get, golf ball sizes. You caught this really early, so it's not going to be a problem. But had you not come in as early, it could have absolutely spread to other things and been a real problem. So
For sure.
So, I'm for once make a good decision in my life, I guess.
I'm so proud of
Yeah,
you. My
I
goodness.
I know. Well, if I didn't have kids, I would have just left it in the hands of God. But I got to put these girls through college. So what are you gonna do?
I kind of had a question about that because, I'm glad you caught it early, and I'm glad it was sort of like an easy process, and I'm glad that, we can laugh about it, but there must have been points in time where, I won't even say that. I'll just ask, like, did you ever have a moment where you were like, oh, dang, like I need to like evaluate my life to a point or something? I don't know. Like it's a scary diagnosis. It is.
Yeah, maybe a little. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought of it in terms like that. Like I went in early. I mean, I make a joke of it, but I did go in early because I'm kind of always thinking about my kids.
Yeah.
And so I want to be healthy for them, not for me. I know it sounds dumb to put it that way, but it is kind of true. Like
Yeah.
I want to be there for them. But yeah, there's some like I knew this wasn't a big deal. Like I don't want to over engineer it and make it sound like I was sitting there fretting about death because I don't really worry about dying. But I certainly had moments where I'm like, maybe I should update my will. Maybe I should tell them how much all these guitars cost so they don't get ripped off if they have to sell them someday. Like there were things like that, and how to go, cash out my 401k and all the things they would have to do if something happened to me. But but outside of that, no. Like I'm at the point with my girls where they're if I went away tomorrow, they're going to be fine. Like I did my part in raising them. They're both brilliant. They can figure things out, and they got their mom and relatives in my family and whatever. But so I don't worry about that. But there was a little moment where I'm like, maybe I should update some stuff.
Yeah. How could you not? How could you not?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you cross your T's and dot your I's, and you've got kids to think about. So it makes total sense.
Well, I want to be careful too, because the truth is, I'm worth way more dead than alive, and I don't want the girls to find that out. Like they might, I'd have to start checking my drinks. Like, man.
My God, I just filled out like life insurance paperwork for work.
Yeah.
My partners and I got a life insurance policy so that like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, they don't have to deal with like Matt trying to step in and run my company.
Right.
Or something like that. And it was weird trying to figure out like what I'm worth dead. so to speak. Like, I don't like any of this. And I have terrible existential dread. When you were like, well, I mean, I don't worry about dying. I'm like, dang, I need to get on your page because that is all I worry about
Right.
all the time. All the time.
Yeah, I don't sweat it. I
Need to
just,
get there.
you can't control life. Like,
I
things
know.
just
That's
happen.
why I need an SSRI. That's what I friggin' need.
I don't even know
Jeez.
what that is. What's an SSRI?
Like an anti-anxiety med.
Oh,
Like an
okay.
like I need the Zoloft rock to be me. That's what I need. I need to
There
just
you go.
roll along. Someday
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Well, it is what it is. But I'm glad it's over now, and I don't want to get cut again. I mean, this is a pain, so
Yeah.
it certainly slowed me down a little bit the last couple of days. And the first thing he says to me when he comes in the office, he's like, you're gonna have to take it easy for a week, right? I'm like, define easy. He's like, you know what I mean. I'm like, damn it. So I've literally just been riding my C2 bike in the basement at a zone 2 speed, which is really slow for the last 2 days. So I'm like sitting there for an hour, just pedaling slow, it's still sweating, but just like no exertion. So
Are you itching to get back into some high intensity something?
yeah. So he said 1 week. So my thought was I did surgery on Tuesday. I normally work a 5-day work week. So Sunday's a good day for me.
That
So
sounds right. Oh yeah, and Sundays are easy at your gym, right?
yeah, they're simple, simple hour-long workouts.
Yeah, no big deal. I think that's fine.
No,
5 days. 5 days. A week is for like the everyman. You're young and fit, so 5 days should be fine.
Well, it's funny you say it that way though, because there is some real truth to now keep in mind my doctor is a CrossFitter, so he was being very specific to me, even though he didn't say it, to not go do CrossFit because he knows what I'm doing. But there is a difference between a doctor saying, hey, you shouldn't overexert yourself based on your fitness level.
Yeah.
Like my exertion level is far different than other 50-year-olds. So like I will dial it back on Sunday because I don't want to rip this thing open.
Right.
Still on stitches, but I'm not going to do nothing.
No, of course not. No. And you're right. It also makes a massive difference in your healing rate.
Yeah.
And I think I've told this story before, but when I was like super pregnant, Matt had that emergency appendectomy and I panicked because the surgeon was like, you're not supposed to lift more than a gallon of milk for 6 to 8 weeks. And I was due in 6 weeks and we have a toddler and the nursery wasn't built yet. And like nothing was happening. And we were like, it was winter. So we were like hauling in bags of pellets from the garage 3-4 times a day. And like, I don't know, I was just nervous. And then like a week after his surgery, he went back in for his follow-up and the surgeon was like, yeah, like you're not, we say 6 to 8 weeks to everyone. You are not 6 to 8 weeks. Like you are obviously very fit. Your body is healing the way it needs to. I would think, in about 4 to 6 weeks, you probably are fine to resume your regular activity. And like 2 weeks after surgery, he was like already picking up Hunter. So I was like, okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Also build the nursery. Thanks.
Well, yeah, it is CrossFit's certainly a good argument for long-term health and fitness when you go through any kind of, physical issue, this being one of them, of how you can recover quicker and go do other things that other people might not be able to do anything for a while. And like I could be wrong about this. I'm just speaking from my own experience here. I certainly have zero medical experience, but I do think we tend to have a higher threshold, pain threshold because of what we put ourselves through on a regular basis. And we have felt, again, from speaking for myself, I've had moments where I felt really intense pain in these workouts. And so like the pain level from this is really nothing comparatively. So I don't really worry about it. Like, I feel like I could go work out. It's not going to bother me too bad, but I'm going to try to be smart, not do anything stupid. Like I'm not going to do burpees and roll around on the ground and get my, face close to infection. I'll do a running workout and some light
I think
stuff.
it's that. Yeah. I think it's that. I think it's less of the, intensity and the craziness of what we do and more of the like, let's not move your body in a twisting, jerking fashion that opens your stitches up or like you said, roll around on a dirty gym floor on your face.
I definitely don't want more shots in my face. So there's no chance I'm going to risk.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. That like numb Ooh, just the feeling of being numb it just straight makes me want to throw up. I just hate it. I hate it. I one time had to have a tooth pulled, like an emergency tooth pulled, where they just like, yeah, that's got to come out like now. And the dentist was basically like on top of me, just like yanking. Oh, my mouth was numb and I hated it.
Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. Well, let's take some questions. I'm tired of talking about my face.
Oh, well, okay.
So you said you had some questions that came in today, and we got a chat going on here. I got some Grants in the chat, my buddy, keeping it real. I'm serious, and everybody's too quiet. Hey, Grant, what's going on, buddy?
Hi.
I will answer this one from Bright Beauty. She's a regular. Says, do your kids do CrossFit? No, my kids do not do CrossFit. They used to. I used to take them both to CrossFit Mentality. This is a true story. I think I've told this years ago on the page, but they were like, if I'm remembering right, Mira was running cross country then. So she would have been like, actually, she ran middle school and high school. So I think they were like 13 and 15 or 14 and 16, maybe. Anyway, it was a CrossFit Mentality. Spencer and Saxon were there. They were in their late teens at the time.
I know this story.
Or really early 20s, and both just savagely ripped, as the Pancheks all are. And I'm sitting there doing deadlifts with my youngest daughter, and I turn and look at her. She's not even moving. She's just standing there. And I turn and look, and Spencer is standing across the room with the shirt off, looking like a Greek god. And I'm like, Megan, what are you doing right now? And she's like, what? You can't blame me. She's like, look at this guy. I'm like, oh man, you're killing me.
Were you like, and that was the last day I ever brought them to CrossFit with me?
They went with me there for about 6 months or so, and they loved it. And it's a fun experience to get to work out with your kids, because kids learn things really fast. Like Megan picked up double unders in like a day. It took me 6 months. She figured it out in 24 hours. But it just wasn't their thing. Meg does rock climbing now. Mira's a gamer and does hiking and stuff. They kind of do their own thing. They just wasn't for them. But if they ever want to come back to it, they'll figure it out eventually.
The Hunter's basically already fitter than me, so there's that.
Yeah, well, he's at that age. He is at that age. All right, throw a question at me. What kind of questions did you get today?
I got actually a couple really good ones. The first one is John ever going to make his constantly varied conversations available as podcast episodes?
People keep asking me that. I have no intention to do it anytime soon.
No?
I might at some point. I don't want to do it right now. I'm trying to build the YouTube channel. An extra audio channel is just more work. I might do it at some point, but like I'm really enjoying just not having a cadence, just doing what I want to do. Like I'm doing short news things and opinion stuff, and so they range anywhere from 4 minutes on the short end to 15 minutes on the long end. And then if I'm doing a thing like this, if it's me and Sean or whoever, those could last as long as an hour. So I'm going to consider it at some point, but I feel like I've got to get that thing kind of fully running and really consistent in the content that I'm putting out. And I'm just not quite there yet, if that makes sense. Like I'm in my creativity phase right now. I'm trying to figure out what I want it to look like long-term, what I want to cover. It's evolving a little bit. And as it continues to evolve, I probably will. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on YouTube.
I think that's fair. I think the format that you're making it in really just lends itself to YouTube. And I get it, because people are probably just like, I want to listen to it when I'm driving or something. Can you just like take that same exact file and throw it into a podcast? Like I understand why people are asking, but also like you can just pull up the YouTube app while you're driving. All good.
Well, and look, YouTube is where everything is going. There isn't, I don't know. I don't get any feedback on audio podcasts. Every single video I put up, I get 100 comments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. Like learning what people want to see is important in helping you create and understanding what resonates with people. And I don't get that on the podcast. So the podcast is like throwing darts in the dark. You just don't know what you're going to hit. Whereas with the video, I know exactly when I've pissed someone off. Like some guy messaged me yesterday. In this news segment, I was talking about the Wild on Earth shoes, which we'll talk about tonight. And I mentioned that, Matt Frazier and Todd Mulaney from Noble had started this thing, and that Brooke Wells and Matt O'Keefe are also involved. Well, this guy messaged, he's like, Brooke Wells is a co-founder. Show some respect. I'm like, I'm not showing respect. It's a 5-minute episode. Like, I'm not doing a lot of research.
Right.
Right.
And also like semantics at that point also.
Yeah. But it does give me a sense of what people, how closely they pay attention. And
Mm.
so then that does make me go, all right, well, if that's something that's important to people, like I'll keep an eye on it, and maybe I will do more specific research for some things and not for others. But, I'm not going to bow to everyone's complaints either. It's just like the feedback's important, and you don't get that on an audio podcast.
Yeah, I was literally just going to ask, like, how do you like filter out the noise, and what is something that people are concerned about versus trolls be trolling kind of,
Well, some of it's topic specific. Like I did one on the PFAA a few weeks ago, and everybody lost their mind. Like it was literally like 80 negative comments in a row, which, in hindsight had nothing to do with me. It was just about the topic. Like that's just a really hot topic, and people tend to hate them for whatever that's worth. So, that was a lesson learned. Sometimes they come at you directly. Like you can tell when it's trolling. You can, like when they make it personal, then it's trolling. And me, they just go fuck themselves. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if it's constructive, I appreciate that because it helps me think differently about future episodes. Like I had some people early on come in, would tell me, hey, I don't like this editing, and that helps. It helps a lot to be able to figure out, like, to get your cadence around what you want it to look like. And then I watch other people's stuff. Like I've mentioned before, like Hiller's fantastic at the way he edits, and I'm not going to try to steal what he does, but like I watch it to try to figure out, are there things I can be doing better that make people pay attention longer, which is the point of why you need good editing. Like a video like this, people tend to click off on because there's nothing to keep their attention.
Right. Visually. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. This was a really interesting question. What are your thoughts on former games athletes who are hating on CrossFit in order to sell their new programming? So there have been a couple athletes who have been just like kind of reframing a program or selling a program or whatever and trying to...
Oh, I know who they're talking about. This is Philly. Marcus, what's something Philly? What's his first name? Marcus
Philly? No, Marcus Philly's had his own thing for a while. I think that there's people who are like they're just like kind of like shitting on intensity. They're like, intensity isn't it anymore. CrossFit isn't it anymore. And so I thought that was an interesting question. Thoughts on former games athletes hating on CrossFit in order to sell their new programs?
Well, like I thought of Marcus because I saw his the other day, and it kind of felt like he was shitting on CrossFit some, and I was like, I wasn't quite sure how to feel. Like there was part of me that wanted to be offended on behalf of CrossFit, but there's other part of me that's kind of pissed at CrossFit right now. It's like, fuck them.
There's that.
And I don't want to begrudge anyone for earning a living ever. In any capacity. But I'm a CrossFitter through and through. So I would be lying if I said it didn't bug me, particularly since they made their living on it, but it doesn't bother me that people are building a following, selling what they want to sell. And I'm a big boy. Like I realize CrossFit isn't for everyone. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I read that on the CrossFit Instagram page. Christy Aramo is programming this week.
Yeah, I saw that. So fun.
I love Christy. She is like the sweetest woman on the planet. Her and her husband Patrick are just terrific.
They're
people.
Great. Yeah.
And somebody went in the comment section and were bitching that Christy was quoted as saying CrossFit isn't for everyone. And I'm like, well, Glassman said that. Like, what are you bitching about? Like, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it if they want to, but you just have to be naive to think everyone can. Like I have personal family members. My dad loves it. He still goes 5 days a week, loves CrossFit, loves the community, doing his thing. My mom would not set foot in there for $1 million. Neither would my sister. My sister works out 5 days a week. She will not go to a CrossFit gym, no matter how much I've asked her to do it.
HWPO?
No, she was doing that for a while. It worked great for her. She was doing the sweat, but she's doing some other stuff now. She just doesn't love that group class vibe. Some people just don't like to be looked at when they're working out, so it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me that, people are selling other programs, but there is, I do have moments where I'm like, dude, you made your whole name on this sport, and now you're, you know, giving it shit.
Yeah.
It bothers me
I
a little
honestly
bit.
feel exactly the same way, where I'm like, I really don't care what anyone does. Like, no shade for trying to make your money or sell your program or do whatever. And I also agree it's not for everyone,
Right.
truly. Like, at the end of the day, it maybe did work for you and it doesn't work for you anymore. And there's other people who identify as that and feel the exact same way. And that's totally fine. But there's a part of me that gets like a little bit defensive just because it's the thing that I love so much that I'm like, it doesn't really need to be shit on though. You would
Right.
just be like, that's not for me no more for X, Y, or Z reasons. I just don't,
Yeah.
yeah. And
The,
it feels a little clickbaity for me to be like, here's why high intensity is ruining your life, or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
It is a little
no
weird.
shade still. No shade still.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question, though. I mean, I saw some drama this week on Instagram around Pat Sherwood.
Why?
Again, like the nicest guy ever. Oh, it's just
Yeah.
Andrew, just Hiller, ginning up drama,
Oh.
and and to his credit, to Andrew's credit, you know, they were talking about how CrossFit was an unfinished work and wasn't perfect, and it's continuing to grow and evolve. And I think Andrew's point was, you know, Glassman did make a perfect program. I could be, again, I could be wrong reading into what he was saying. And Pat was saying, I love Glassman's work, but it's got to continue to evolve, and he's trying to continue to evolve it. And it just kind of drives me crazy when everybody starts arguing all the little nuances of all this when we got so many people that are just out of shape and dying. I'm like, maybe we quit fighting about the perfectness of the program and just get some unfit people into the gyms, and life will be better.
Maybe
you
that.
know?
Maybe that. You know what? That leads me into another. It's not a question, but it's just a comment, but it's kind of worth discussing. Someone just wrote, the online CrossFit space has turned into a cesspool of negativity following the games, period. And I tend to agree. And I think it's a real bummer.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions that came in to me on that too. I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I feel it, I sense it, and to be honest, like I have no desire to watch competitive CrossFit right now. Literally none. I have not watched.
Me either.
I didn't watch a second of the Masters, and I love Masters athletes. I have not watched a second of Wheel Wad, and I really love those guys even more than the Masters. Yeah, and I'm not going to pay attention to Waza this weekend at all. And like I'm looking at the photos as an example. There's one today from Ariel Lowen and Emily Roth. I love both of those women. Like Emily's a friend, like, so I see it and I'm like, oh, they'll have so much fun. I bet they're gonna have a great time this weekend, but I don't even want to watch them compete.
Yeah. I've honestly been feeling the same way. And I hate that. Like I want to watch it, but I just don't.
Well, I wonder how much of that's going to continue to carry over when it will pass. Maybe it's just you and I just being wimps. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
I can't believe I'm alone in that. I don't think you're alone in that. I'm just curious what the effect's going to be long term. So I'll be interested to see. I'll be really interested to see what like the attendance at Wadapalooza looks like. How many people watch the live stream? I mean, Will Watt had 25,000 views on their first day. It seems pretty good
stuff. Yeah.
Considering it's not on the game's website, it's on the Wheel Wad site with like 3,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I was hoping that I would get more jazzed up about Waza because it sort of like feels very outside of the realm of CrossFit games, right?
Yeah.
It's its own thing. It's sort of unrelated to the things that have been happening. If you're at all like, oh, I'm kind of waiting for the investigation to finish before I decide how I feel about everything, like Wadapalooza feels removed enough from that, truly. But I still just can't get stoked on it. I just can't.
Yeah. Well, some people are. Kristen's coming in saying she's watching it, super excited for SoCal, like the way they structured it, and it does look fun.
Agree. It looks really fun. I'm a little miffed though, because last year we got those fun PR boxes. Remember when they announced it and there was a golden ticket in it and it was like, here's your ticket to the event. And I was like, that was a fake ass ticket because nobody called me and told me that I had a ticket to this event. Come on. I had it on my fridge. I was like, do I need to save this for next year's admission?
Right.
Nope.
I hope, my real hope is that Wadapalooza, SoCal, and Rogue are going to get the community back fired up.
Yeah.
Those will both be great, well-run events. Everybody knows Rogue is always top-notch. Plus, it's in a cool location this year. So hopefully, it'll feel like it comes back a little from that, and everybody will feel better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just continue to wonder. Am I so pissed at CrossFit over all this that it's just bleeding over into everything else? So I'm just trying to rein it in on my own and try to be very analytical of what I'm looking at and fair to CrossFit and to the competitions and to myself.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think for me, I'm just still feeling like all the aftershocks of all the emotion that was going on around the games, and it doesn't feel like it's left me yet. So it's just not getting me excited about watching it. And also, to the point of the person who commented on my Instagram question, like, it does kind of feel like a cesspool in the comments of most things related to CrossFit online right now. And I've just removed myself from that. I don't need that shit in my life. I don't love CrossFit less, the methodology. I don't love my affiliate less. I don't love working out less. And I will do that forever. That will never, ever leave my world.
Right.
But it's just making, on Friday night when I sit down in front of the TV for my 2 hours to myself, staying up way too late. And Matt and I are like, what 45 minutes of TV do we want to watch tonight? Because that's all we ever have time for. I don't know if I'm immediately going to be like, oh, this comp is on, let's watch it. As opposed to I don't know, an episode of something that was mindless.
I have a funny story. Clock came in the comments and said he's having fun watching the dwarfs. The short stature division is amazing. I know all those guys. When I was at Wadapalooza a few years ago, this would have been, it was maybe just before the pandemic.
2019?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, the adaptive athletes were competing, and I was meeting a lot of those guys for the first time. And I'm standing there talking to a bunch of the adaptive athletes, and I hear some guy behind me go, John, and I turn around and I don't see anybody there. And so I turn back away, and he goes, John, and I turn again, and there's still nobody there. And he goes, down here. And I look down. I'm not making this up. And I look him dead now. I'm like, you can't do that to me, bro. You cannot say down here, or I'm going to start laughing at you. And he just burst into laughter because all these guys have the darkest humor, and so nice and fun and fit as hell.
Scary fit. Fit.
They have a shorter range of motion, obviously, and so they can squat like a ridiculous amount of weight.
Yeah.
300-400 pounds. It's just crazy how much these guys can squat. It's really impressive and fun to watch. So it is fun. And
it's so fun.
And, of course, I know 3 of these guys, and they're all just terrific dudes, really terrific dudes. So,
well, I am Tom Miazga's #1 fan, 1,000%. I would love to see him do well and continue to do well in the sport. I mean, he's dominant. I was wearing my jersey, Tom jersey LSKD made yesterday. I felt like I was really repping. So
I have had a couple of moments from I'd like to, because I had a couple of them reach out to me, ask if I was coming, and I'm I wish I could have been there. I feel like had I gone, I probably would be feeling wildly different.
Agreed.
About comps, particularly around the adaptive athletes, because they're all so much fun and just really grateful when people come to their stuff, so. Maybe
I agree. If we were live, I feel like I'd be feeling very different. If I were working, I feel like I would be feeling very different, but ain't nobody asking. So there's that.
They're not asking me. There ain't nobody at CrossFit talking to me at all. So it's at all.
That's kind of sad to me. I'm like, oh, dang, maybe I'm just done with that. That would be a bummer. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's sad I don't know if it's sad to me. I've had a realization recently that is not even recent, but this whole event has really reminded me that most of the relationships you build online are not even relationships. They're just acquaintances.
True.
They feel like relationships because a lot of these people I talk to often, pretty often, a few times a week even. And then when they quit talking to you altogether, just straight up ghost you, you're just like, okay. All
You mean
right.
like people who like maybe hold like prominent positions
Yeah,
or
people
like
that
folks
work
from
at
the brand itself? Yeah, folks
yeah,
from
people that work at
HQ.
CrossFit or within the brand, whatever, and all of a sudden when they just quit talking, and I understand, like, I'm sure they're probably under orders to not talk to anybody right now. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, yeah, okay, the point is, there's nothing I'm bitter about. It's just like, I think with online quote unquote relationships, you have to really learn like who are the people that you have actual friendships with and people you really care about that you will be there for, and those that will ghost you in a minute.
Yeah,
That's all. So
that's fair.
I
I
don't
think
know.
I have a
Here, I don't know. Gordon must work there. He says they're not under orders. That's good to know. I don't know Gordon, so or at
I
least not
think
personally.
I have a different perspective only because I did it for so long. Like I was doing it like consistently for over 10 years. And then there was always this pressure in the beginning to like say yes to every gig because you're always afraid to say
Right.
no under any circumstances. You're afraid to like seem not like you're not committed. And you're worried that the first time you say no is going to be the last time that they ever call you. And so I didn't say no to anything for a decade. And the first time I ever said no to anything was semis. And then I haven't heard from anyone since. And it was because I had had a baby 2 weeks prior, for
Yeah.
what it's worth. So I don't know. I hope it's not related. And like the winds, the winds can shift. Like perhaps my time is over, and there are people better suited for those roles, and that is also okay. But it would be a bummer. I would really hope to do it again at some point, and like travel my whole family, and bring both boys, and continue interviewing the athletes that I love and telling those stories. I hope it's not done for good.
So you say all that like the games are coming back. I mean, they, I mean,
It would not even necessarily for the games. I would do it. I mean, I've done it for Wadapalooza. I did it when it was semis. I did it when those events were not at all involved with the games. I did it for Granite for years. I did it. I mean, you name it, I've been there. In Europe, like, so it doesn't necessarily need to be games related. I hope to be asked to a live event at some point again in the future. I would be sad if that didn't happen.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Should. I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. I mean, you know me, I've said forever, I don't care so much about the sports side of the business. I'd hate to see it go away because I know the community loves it.
Yeah.
And it does give us, fun things to talk about from time to time. I'm just struggling to read the tea leaves of what's going on right now, like, because there's so much silence, and we're waiting on the investigation. And then have you seen this? Have you seen this whole thing about Don going to Washington? Have you seen this?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Here, hold on. I want to share this with you. This is interesting. I can't figure it out. And I'm going to go on record here. What I'm going to bring up. I'm trying to be fair, totally fair. I don't want to like let my annoyance with what's going on within the sport cloud my business judgment on what this
Okay.
is, but I can't quite figure it out. So what I'm trying to do right now is view it through the most positive lens possible.
Okay.
Right. If I can figure out how to share my screen here. Hold on. What did I do with it? Window. Man, I got to be smarter than this. Hold on. Here we go. Give me a second. I'm going to pull it up. All right. So Don went to Washington with this group.
Yeah.
Have you looked up this website yet?
No. Endchronicdisease.org.
Yeah. So this is really, really interesting to me. And and I think it's a really good news story for the business and for affiliates and for members if it's as up and up as it is. So basically the gist of it is they've gone to Washington, and if you really read through it, they're trying to attack chronic disease as America's top issue, right? And to give some statistics here, 40% of high school students have mental health disorder, higher in my household, but whatever. 50% of young adults are overweight or obese, and 60% have chronic disease. And if you come down here and look at their plan, is that they want to educate lawmakers around, by sharing stories of patients who have reversed chronic conditions, advocate for policy change. And this is kind of the cool part, like they're focused on HSA reform. So people can basically use your health savings accounts, which are tax-free, to purchase, CrossFit, right? And supplements and food and whatever. And then they're trying to build this movement to support specific bills. So basically they're lobbying. Like that's
Yeah.
the wind up here. They're lobbying and trying to get HSA reform, which could be a really cool thing if it's done right. Like I'm sitting here reading it, and like the person who runs, as an affiliate owner, I'm like, this is great. If you can get people that have chronic disease, incentivize them to go to a gym and make this part of it. And if you get connected, as an example, with, I don't know, let's just throw a healthcare company out like Cigna, for instance.
Sure. Yeah.
And Cigna said, yeah, you can use your HSA at these gyms, and CrossFit gyms are included. That could be a huge win for the affiliate network, and a huge win for the community, and obviously for people that have these chronic conditions that can come in and we can help them with that.
Yeah.
So that's the positive side I'm looking at, going, man, that's really cool. And then there's the other side of me that's always got my eyebrow up, going, every single person on this list is selling something. Right. So is this really about chronic disease, or just about selling, ice baths, which is what some of these are, is about selling ketones, or, plunges on here as an example. So it's like, I'm trying to be fair and go, I'd love to see people be able to use pre-tax dollars to buy health stuff, even if it is a cold plunge.
Yeah. I don't care if the former gets done and the latter gets sold. It does not bother me.
Yeah.
It doesn't at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just really interesting.
These folks on this list, who, if you're listening to this on the podcast and you don't see it on your screen, it's big brands like CrossFit and Sweet Green and Thrive Market and Levels. Like these, representatives from these big brands are the ones who are on the coalition who went to Washington. These brands have the money to do this. You need money to lobby. So it does not bother me if the bills get passed and the lobbying gets done and we get the country healthier and more people are eating at Sweet Green as a result of it. Like,
I just need to do more research on it. This guy in the bottom corner, Callie Means, is I think the guy heading it up. I originally caught wind of it looking at his page, not CrossFit's page. And so he's been a lobbyist for some time, and he seems like he swings a big stick. Like, it certainly is in and around influential people and has made quite a name for himself. And he seems like a really smart dude. Looking back at his stuff, he used to lobby for Coke, which I thought was really interesting. He now rails on them. Like he had a conversion at some point, like he saw the light. And
people can change.
Yeah, well, he says, like, I went back and started looking at his old tweets and things, and he says, like, he saw the light when he saw what was going on behind closed doors,
Yeah.
And again, I haven't researched him enough to know when that conversion happened and, everything he's done since, but he seems like a pretty sharp dude from reading it. And so I'm just kind of curious looking at this, where is CrossFit's place in all of this? Like, are we leading this movement? Are we being led through this movement? Is it just about building good partnerships, which, again, I'm not opposed to. I don't think those are bad things, to have good partnerships with other businesses, because all of these businesses could bring more people into CrossFit. It's not a bad thing, I don't know. I just got a lot of open questions for me that I'd like the answers to, but it's interesting to see that's something they're doing behind closed doors that we haven't really seen advertised yet. So I'll be interested to see if they continue to build on this and get it out to the affiliates and continue to drive it.
I was happy to see this. And I think a lot of the negativity that I saw around it online was just sort of in relation to whatever we're waiting on from the games still. Like, a lot of people were like, we have an open investigation from the games. How are you, like, in Washington lobbying for this? And to me, it's just two very different siloed things almost, where there's like CrossFit, the brand, the company in and of itself, which is a health company trying to be a part of this movement. And then there's, everything that happened at the games that we are still waiting on. And I don't think we can expect CrossFit, the company, to go full stop while all that is happening, when they sort of regard sport very different from everything else that they have going on. So, and Dawn just happens to be at the top of everything, every silo, all of them. So,
well, I've like much of those people in that comment section have been annoyed at the lack of transparency so far, or at least communication that has come out around the investigation. But if we're being fair, CrossFit's communication has been shitty for a decade. So you can't expect them to, immediately turn and when tragedy happens to get better at it. I mean, you just can't. They've never been good at it. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of giving them a pass a little bit as they get it all figured out. And I gotta believe something this big. Like, you don't just roll up to Washington and start knocking on doors and talking to people. Like, this would have been scheduled months and months and months in advance. So you got to be able to do more than one thing at a time. So I don't fault them for going to do it while this investigation's happening. And I would just like more details on it, because I think it could be a good news story for the brand of how they're going to bring more people in, reach their goal of 30 million CrossFitters, or improve affiliates. I saw someone comment that, hey, this is a great step. Now I get Medicare to do the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, yes, let's do that. Like, I've said that for years. I want my insurance to pay for my CrossFit membership.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I'd like to see more, and I'd like to see what they can accomplish with it. So hopefully they continue to build on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I was not mad. I was not mad about seeing that.
let's look at these shoes.
They're cool.
You bought a pair, right?
I did. I bought a pair for Matt too. He doesn't know I spent $300 on shoes this week.
What colors did you get?
I got white because I'm a sucker for an all white shoe. And all my shoes are all white. It just is like that, and I just love them so much. But I got him the blue ones. Which ones did you get?
I got the tan ones.
Look
at us. We'll have all but the red ones. I have a lot of blue stuff, and I didn't, for whatever reason, like that color blue just didn't resonate with me. I don't own anything that's tan. I'm like, all right, those are kind of cool.
I like them.
I'll give them a shot. And, selfishly, I wanted to do a review for my other channel. So I'm like, I'll buy a pair. I'll review them.
Yeah.
See how they are. I mean, it's, relative, and they're new shoes. Who doesn't like new shoes?
I'm kind of dying for a new feel on my feet, if that makes sense. Okay, this is annoying. I think my feet are changing size.
They probably are.
I didn't know this was a thing, and I'm so frustrated because I didn't get, my feet didn't swell at all during pregnancy, and everyone's like, your feet can grow however many sizes when you're pregnant. And I'm like, oh, thank God that didn't happen. But now I'm 5 months postpartum, and I'm weirdly now, all of a sudden, in the last week or two, being like, well, my shoes feel kind of short. What the fuck is going on here? And so I Googled it, and sure shit, yes, your feet can change size after. You think you're in the clear, and then you're not in the clear, and your feet get bigger, and that's bullshit. So anyway, I don't know how they're gonna fit, but I was just kind of looking at my shoe rack, being they're 90% Nobles, just because those are the shoes that I would get working events in the last couple of years, and they all kind of feel the same. And I got Rads recently, and those were the first ones in a while that I was like, ooh, these feel different on my feet. Or the Nanos I got at Waza this past year in January also felt different on my feet, but everything else just feels the same. So I'm curious to know, with these very elite CrossFitters and designers with a ton of experience or whatever, are they going to make something truly revolutionary? I'm curious.
Well, my initial, just visually, I'll tell you what I think they look like. They remind me of the original Tri-Base Reigns, for whatever that's worth. Just just the way the soles are made. They also have a little bit, they feel like a mixture to me of Nanos and Tri-Base Reigns, and I can see obviously a little bit of Noble influence. So I'll be interested to see how they fit, how they feel, and more importantly, how they feel actually training in them, which is the most important part for me. But I like the look. I think they look good, and
sharp.
And they're not just doing shoes for whatever that's worth. They're doing, apparel too, but I wasn't going to buy shorts and t-shirts until I tried their shirts on or their shoes on. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, I'm excited. I've not purchased a pair of shoes in a really long time. So
I feel like I'm going to get yelled at from Ben at Rad because they sent me so many shoes, and that doesn't mean I don't still love Rad, but I like shoes, and so I'll try them on and we'll see what happens.
I will be honest that the Rads were the first ones in a long time that I put on that I was like, ooh, these are I can tell that some different innovation went into them. And I want to love Tiers. Do you have any Tier shoes?
I do. I hate them.
I
Is
want
that
to love them so bad, but they rub the backs of my heels
yes?
raw. All of
Danny
them.
Danny sent me her shoes when she was still
Same. She
sponsored
sent
by
me
them.
hers too. And I was like so excited, but the red bottoms, they were so
Yeah,
slick. I love the look of them. And I kept them because they work if I wear tall socks. But if I don't wear like crew socks, they rub the backs of my heels raw. What the fuck?
yeah. Visually, they're great.
Yeah.
They did not fit me well. Did
And
not
that
fit
I
me
told
well
you
at
that
all.
happened at Waza a couple years ago, right? Didn't I
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
that?
It happened to
When they
everybody
get
at Waza a couple years ago when Tier first came out. I literally found 2 or 3 pairs of shoes just laying around the city
mm-hmm.
when it was done.
I think that it's just like 50% of people have the wrong shaped foot for their shoe. That's what I think, which sucks because I want to love them. But they
Yep.
gave them to the volunteers and the staff, and the medical team like literally ran out of moleskin for the backs of our heels because everybody needed moleskin and band-aids to wear them all weekend.
Well, I just can't get into them. Maybe at some point I'll try them again, but I just haven't loved them
Yeah.
at all.
It's a bummer.
I've had 2 pair at this point. I didn't like either one, so I can't
Me
imagine.
either. Same. Same.
So
Have you
I will.
worn any of the strike movement shoes? Have we
No,
talked about this?
people love
No.
them. I've never tried them. Jen and Tom wear them. They love them to death. They think they're great.
Yeah.
Never
Matt
been.
loves them. Loves them.
I mean, let's be fair. Like, I mean, I literally have more shoes than I know what to do with.
Right.
And right now I'm training for high rock, so I'm wearing running shoes all the time. And
Ooh,
so
what are
I've
you
kind of
running
New Balance 880s.
Yeah, 880s are
I
they're
love them.
bomb.
They're great.
Yeah.
And so like I just have too many shoes. The only reason I bought these is because Frazier's involved and I love O'Keefe. Like
Okay.
O'Keefe has been great to me, and like I believe in supporting people that I
Yeah.
like, and I like those guys. I think the world of them. And so I'm like, I'll buy a pair. Worst case scenario, they're shitty and I won't do the review. Right? Like,
You could
but
do the review and be honest.
I am going to
and
be honest.
constructive.
I am going to be honest. If they're total horseshit, I won't do the review at all, and everyone will know they're total horseshit because I didn't do it. Right?
That's fair.
But they
That's
won't
fair.
be. They'll. I mean, come on. Like we know they're going to be at least good. Whether they're great or not, I can't tell you. And again, like shoes are just subjective to the person. Like
Yeah.
I love Rad. I can't tell you how many people have told me, oh, they're too tight, or like they just don't
Really?
like them. Yeah,
Oh,
I've had plenty of people that tell me they don't like them, and I love them. So like shoe reviews are always still, really touchy.
Yeah. That's fair. I really like the Rad runners for what it's worth.
Yeah, they're great. I had a couple of pair of those, and I beat up all my runners, which is why I just went and bought new running shoes because I got to get prepared for this thing in November. I'm gonna literally die doing this trip. My training is not going good, Niki. I'm not feeling great about high rocks right now.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Well, I was talking to I've been training with Carissa, one of my coaches, and James, you're a smart ass. James is local, by the way. Dad in his 50s wearing New Balance. They're not white, James. They're not white New Balance. For those listening, it says a dad in his 50s wearing New Balance sneakers. Who would have thought? They did come with a pair of tongs, so whatever that's worth.
Oh.
They should have.
Your training's not going well?
Well, I'm just getting my ass kicked by my coach. I said, and she's literally the fittest person I know. So I said to her the day, I'm like, I'm just not at the point where I'm convinced I'm completely out of shape. That it's not just she's so much fitter than me that my perception of my fitness is worse. That's what I keep telling myself.
Could be.
I don't think my fitness is great right now from a running perspective, but it is getting better. So we'll see. I still got 8 weeks, and that's plenty of time to get into running shape. So I'm just going to have to run a lot more between now and then. But it's been hard, man, and she's been putting me through the paces. So
I bet. Did you see what happened with my run last weekend?
Yes, you went on the wrong day.
Oh my God, like a fucking idiot. I don't know how I did that. It was not easy to plan this trip. Like in July, I found this race because we were on Block Island in July, and I was like, I want to come back here. It's a really, really adorable little island off the coast of Rhode Island. It's like halfway between. It feels kind of tropical, but it also feels like New England, Martha's Vineyard, like coastal vibes. And we go every year for the 4th of July week, and we stay with friends, and like all of our kids come and our parents come. It's like a very family friendly vacation. So I was like, I want to come back, just us. And ooh, there's a race. And I had to plan extensively. I had to buy ferry tickets for all of us. I had to like figure out how to pack all of us. We didn't take our car over, so just like took the ferries. Like, how do I pack all of our bags with the strollers and the whatever? I had to get an Airbnb. Like I had to plan extensively for this race that I thought was on Sunday. And when we got to the island on Saturday morning, we were like just dicking around, walking around, doing whatever. There was like there's one bar that was having like a hooray runners after party with
Right.
live music, and we walked by it and I was like, oh, there's music there today too, how sweet. 2 days in a row, because tomorrow that's where the after party is. And it was a big banner that was like, congratulations runners on Saturday the 7th. And I was like, I didn't say what.
Oh, that sucks. You still ran it though. You went and ran the next day.
I did. I found the course, I mapped it out on Strava, and I went the next day as planned and laced up and ran it myself. And it
I
was
told
fine.
you won your heat. That's
I
great.
did. I did. It was actually a really lovely and beautiful run. I'm sad that I missed the like excitement of race day. I mean, it was small. There was probably 50 runners. Like it was not like a massive thing, but there were pros to doing it the way that we did it too, right? Like we're traveling with my small children. I got to just like wake up and have breakfast with them. I was not on a time crunch. I got to like do my own thing. Like it was fine. It was totally fine. It wasn't the most massive run either. It was 15K. I was not out there running a marathon. Like I ran for 90 minutes and then I met back up with them. It was not that crazy. So it could have been worse, but yeah, it was stupid.
Hey, shit happens. Shit happens.
Yeah, well, whatever.
I'm not ready for a 15K either. I'm not ready for this 8K I got to do at High Rocks. So,
you know what I found when I was training, I really thought I was going to die. First of all, I haven't trained for like the last 2 months. When the baby stopped sleeping, I basically stopped training, but I had been doing okay up until then. And then I did a 7-mile training run because the 15K is like 9.3 miles or something like that.
Right.
So I did a 7K training run and I was like, I'm going to die. I barely survived 7 miles. It was the worst thing ever. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. That's it. And then I showed up on quote unquote race day, my race day that I made for myself. And it was magical. So I really think something changes when you get there, truly.
I hope you're right. I definitely hope you're right. We'll see. I mean, I'll keep training between now and then. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen?
It's the Chicago one you're doing, right?
Yeah.
The one that we did together. I wish I could do it with you. Maybe I'll.
But it's already sold out. You can't get in now.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah, they sold out quick. But we can do one together at some point. Yep.
I would love that. I would love to do one together. You'll kick my butt. But I mean, nothing can be worse than the last time we did it in Chicago, and I was like ill prepared and not trained and had to do it with a vest, and it was like horrific. So
I was hungover.
Still won. Won.
I was massively hungover. As a matter of fact, the photo I used for the clip art for this, I was hungover in that photo, and I look at.
It was a great image. I'm
not drinking at all right now. None, like not a drop, and I'm convinced I'm gonna get there in a much better place.
I think so too.
I will say this is an interesting thing I've noticed this week. This is way off topic of running, but I'm in week 4 of no alcohol.
Okay.
And this week, for whatever reason, like every week things have changed a little bit. Like the first week, I was like a little depressed, you know, like your mood changes. Depressed is the wrong word. You have like kind of mood swing changes when you just don't drink at all. If you drink some during the week, usually. And then by week 2, that started to subside. Week 3, I started to get more energy. And then this week, I feel like my brain is sharper.
Oh.
Like way sharper. My memory's better. I'm quicker on the draw for things at work. Like, just like all that old man forgetfulness stuff is less, Okay. So I'll be interested to see, it'll be 3 months by the time I get to High Rocks. I'll be interested to see if there's a compounding effect between, not poisoning your body with alcohol and continuing to train and see how it affects me. So
When you put it that way, you would
I don't know.
think.
You would
I've been
think.
using your Instagram to like guide me into good non-alcoholic beers to test too.
Oh, I have so many. I've some new
Yeah.
ones tonight too. I need to
Oh
do
yeah.
reviews on. Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
Yeah.
Someone gave me shit the other day about that because I posted them. They're like, alcoholics shouldn't be drinking NA beer. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not an Alcoholics
Yeah.
Anonymous, all
Wait.
right? And I'm
How do
not
you
enc-
extrapolate that,
and
sir?
I'm not encouraging other people to do it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Like I'm just giving a review of what I'm drinking. People can make their own choices for what they want to do, and I'm like, so whatever.
Yeah.
But there are some great, like really great non-alcoholic beers, and the ones I'm drinking here are like 50 calories, 40 to
Yeah.
50 calories, which are not, you know,
Not bad.
not a lot. So
Since you posted that Blue Moon review, I really want to go try the Blue Moon one.
the Blue Moon one is really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. That one is really similar. Like it's really similar to actual Blue Moon. The Sam Adams one is
Yep.
pretty good. There's been a couple that I'm like, yeah, okay, I won't do that again. But I'll give them credit, man. They are all really similar to actual beers. You have to drink about 80 to catch a good buzz, so that sucks. But otherwise, they're not bad. Well, here's what it does. This is all it does for me. If anyone has any desire to quit drinking but wants the sensation, here's why non-alcoholic beer can be a good choice. It has 0.5 alcohol per volume, so there's literally like
It's not.
you cannot feel a buzz, right? Like you don't feel anything from it. But what it does give you is the sensation in those moments when you want to drink. So like I'll give you an example. For me, Saturday football came on. Ole Miss was playing. We're 3-0 right now, kicking a lot of ass. And I like to drink beer when I watch Ole Miss football. And so now I can do that and get the same sensation without getting the hangover. And the best part is it's filling.
Yeah.
So unlike actual beer where you keep drinking because your mind, as you're getting that dopamine release, your body wants to continue to drink, and you'll drink through that fullness and gorge yourself on it. You won't do that or at least I don't do that with NA. I'll quit after 2.
You're like full.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is like it's a lot of fizz. It's like I'm full now,
Yeah.
And so you get all the same sensation without the hangover, without the buzz, and so you do get the benefit of getting that same kind of experience that your mind is looking for. So you kind of get the same dopamine release, because at least the way my brain works is it's thinking about you should be drinking right now, because you have it. It's like, all right, this is great, and then you put it away and you're good, and you still get good sleep at night.
You get good sleep. You wake up feeling good. Yeah, that's why I like it. I also like it because I just don't drink much when I'm nursing. I know you can, and I still do every so often. We'll have like a real drink, like an actual cocktail or an actual beer, but I just don't. It's not fun to like sit there and be worried, like, is this too much? Can I have another one? Like, it's not fulfilling in that respect. Oh, and my baby won't take a bottle. So that's also been really fun.
Maybe you should give him the beer.
He needs it. Maybe he'll sleep. What our parents used to rub, like what, whiskey on our gums or whatever?
My dad straight up gave me a beer once at 11 months old. My mom still tells that story.
Stop it.
Yeah, she left and went somewhere, and apparently I crawled over. I wasn't even walking then when she left anyway. And she comes back, and I'm walking all over the house because I'm pretty damn buzzed from some Coors Light he gave me or something. Swear to God. I mean, this is Mississippi in the 70s.
Right,
So
right.
it's like 1972 probably.
He was just like, here you go, kid. Try this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or you like put your mouth on it and he thought it was hilarious. He was like, yeah, have some.
See, my problem is I'm a true CrossFitter, and I have ADHD, so I do everything to the extreme. It's why I have 12 guitars in this room. It's why I have 15 pairs of CrossFit shoes over there. It's why I have a basement full of CrossFit gear when I own a gym,
right,
20 minutes from here, and I have no need for all that shit. And alcohol is no different. Like I go buy a bottle of tequila. I'm not going to have one glass of tequila and go to bed. I'm going to have 4 or 5. So it's like I don't keep it in the house because of that.
That's fair.
I don't crave it. Like I don't sit around and go, I gotta have it or get the shake, so I'm not having it. I just do everything in my life to extreme, and so that's where the NA beer really pays off for me. It's like I don't drink 6 of those. I can have 2 and I'm done, and there's no effect to my body other than the 100 calories you get in the 2. So
that's fair.
I think it's a good option for people if they want to do it. Somebody needs to come up with a good non-alcoholic liquor, because everything that's created is trash. It's
I
all
don't like it.
terrible.
Yeah,
It's all
it all is
terrible.
just a bizarre taste where like I get that they're trying to get to some like earthy or aromatic or something, but it's all just like, ugh, I can't do it.
I had a non-alcoholic whiskey the other day, and it tasted like cinnamon raisins. I'm like, this is so gross. Like, it's so bad. It is so bad. I'm like, I can't do this, So anyway, that's my story, Nikki. I'm sticking to it.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I'm here for that.
Any other questions you had coming in?
No, that was basically it.
Before we go, Holly asked if she missed the Romantasy book talk. We only kind of briefly mentioned it. Any new smut you're reading for the crowd? If anybody has new smut they're looking for?
I am deep in the Blood and Ash series. And I'm doing John, this is not going to make any sense, but for anyone reading these, there's like a order that you're supposed to read in, where there's like a prequel series, but you're supposed to read like the first 3 of the regular series, and then book 1 of the prequel, and then the next one, and then book 4 of the regular one, and then book 2 of the prequel, and it's like supposed to make the whole world make sense. I was thinking I should do like a fun, you know what? Rewind. I was thinking I should do a fun like book talk episode, or maybe even like open chat or something. We should do it book talk Romantasy themed, so that people can come in the chat and we can really nerd out. And if you're not into that, you can just skip that episode. That would be fun.
We'll put a parent advisory on it for the smut talk.
We need to. There will be a lot of dong. But then it reminded me that someone did write a question about whether or not I was going to do any more focus on female episodes, and the answer to that is yes. And I actually have been chatting with a couple people. Obviously, like when I was waiting until after games because people were very busy, and now I'm waiting until after games for a very different number of reasons. But there were a bunch of athletes that I was talking to about coming on and talking about a number of different topics. So that also should be coming back at some point. But yeah, I would love to host a Romantasy episode, and we should get Danny on to talk about it, because she's been a source of a lot of my recommendations that I've read, and she's read them all. We can all make a TBR together.
I'm a pretty good writer. Maybe I'll write a CrossFit Romantasy book.
Okay.
She stroked him with her calloused hands.
That's
what it'll read like.
Here for it. Where's the fantasy element? Who has magical powers? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
Gotta get creative. ChatGPT can help you write it.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. That'd be great.
But yeah, John, we should totally do that, and we can invite all of my book besties, because I have a lot of book besties that weigh in.
I'll let you have Danny on, and you guys can discuss it, and I'll just sit here silently and listen to the smut talk. Yeah, very uncomfortably. That'll be great. We need to get Danny on.
Did you know that there's a whole genre? Okay, I won't dive deep into this, I promise, but there's a whole genre of like smutty monster books.
I'm not surprised at all. Not surprised at all.
Because that's a thing. And there's a whole genre of smutty alien books where they all have like 12-foot green wieners. I'm not kidding. It's a thing. There's people who are really into that stuff.
Of course they do. I was at the Arnold in Columbus, and I'm at dinner, minding my own business, and all of a sudden a parade of furries comes by.
Yeah.
Hey, Hiller's here. He would read smutty monster book. Hiller, you should do a video for us on slutty monster books. I think you'd be great at it, dude.
Andrew, you have to come to the Romantasy episode that we host.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I can't promise that there'll be monster smut there, because I'm not familiar with it, but maybe Danny knows it. She knows all of it.
We'll lean on her to write a smutty CrossFit book.
Well, and look what Holly wrote, smutty sports books. No doubt a CrossFit series exists already. This is a whole genre, and I don't know why this exists, but there's a smutty hockey genre. It's as deep into the Romantasy whatever realm there's people who are that deep on hockey romances. I don't know why ice hockey players are really sexy, I guess. I don't know. I'd never understood it, but there's a whole thing about that.
The reality is, it doesn't matter what exists in the world, Niki, someone's created porn from it.
For sure.
That's just the way it is.
And you know what? I'm glad for it, because that's all it is it's porn with words.
There you go.
And I'm happy for it.
Whatever works. Well, it's been fun. Let's see. Danny created somebody across the book. She could. She absolutely could. Well, it's been fun, Niki. Great catching up as always. Wish I had been there in person. Yes. We were supposed to be together this week and we didn't get to do it. So that's a bummer.
When I took John in town out of the calendar, I actually shed a tear.
I know. I was bummed, but it was either cancel my trip to Rhode Island and get the surgery now or wait till October. And had I waited till October, when they originally called me, they're like, oh, yeah, you can't work out for 2 weeks after the surgery. And that was 2 weeks from the High Rocks event. I'm like, I can't not train 2 weeks out. So no, I have to do it now. So fortunately, I was able to work it around, but I'll get back up there.
You don't want to wait for that. If they called me and they were like, we can get this cancer off of you in 2 months, I'd be like, I could be dead by then.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where your mind goes. Yeah. Regardless, they'll send me back to Providence for that training and we'll catch up then.
Okay, good.
Sure. All right. Well, fun times. Thanks everyone for joining tonight. Appreciate you guys being with us, asking questions and listening to our smutty book talk. And we'll chat with you guys next week. Take care.